Okay, this is the meeting of the school repair committee. The first order, I am Town Administrator Mike McHugh. I'm not a member of this committee. However, the committee does need to reorganize. So I am taking the role of running the meeting until the group has reorganized. And basically what I will do, gentlemen, is I will call for nominations for chairman of this committee. Do I have any nominations for chairman of the committee?
I'll take it if nobody wants it.
Okay, I have one nomination. Do I hear any others? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor? All those opposed?
We need somebody to second the nomination.
Second.
No, I usually don't second nominations.
I have to ask, like, before we get going, what, in my personal opinion, this was a no a while back. Are we,
I didn't mean to throw that.
It's fine. We're on for, so we're redoing this? Is this, I mean, this is Indian Head McQuon School Priority Repair Committee. Is that what this still is? Just involved the middle school? I think there's some more before we actually make up who's in charge or whatever. Is this?
Well, that's the old minutes.
No, but it's still the name of this committee.
It was changed at the May election, May town meeting, or not town meeting, but the selectmen's meeting back in May of last year.
And it is
They renamed it.
It's merely the school repair committee
School
now.
Repair Committee. And at that time, they said that they were gonna try to hire a facilities manager, and at that time, but nothing's been done, so I think we should still be active until there's somebody hired at that time to take over.
Well,
To take over what?
Just a matter of correction.
Well, to take over what? To do Ernie's job?
No,
We
no,
need
no,
three
no.
people doing that job?
No, it's not Ernie's job, but they would be hired to look at the town buildings.
And just as a matter of correction, the scope of the facilities manager did not include schools. The scope of the facility manager were everything but the schools.
Oh, I thought it said at some point it would take over the schools.
We are considering at some point if it becomes full-time, but that is not the case right now. As a matter of fact, I'm probably going to announce before the next at the next selectmen's meeting, or the selectmen's meeting of the 10th, a proposed facility manager. But that facility manager at this point is a part-time facility manager and is only handling municipal buildings, not.
We have one now. There is
No.
one position. Oh, there is.
Well, there's a position, there just isn't anyone in that position. And at the next the selectmen's meeting of the 10th, I have a candidate that I'm going to bring forward.
Okay.
But that candidate,
Nothing to do with the schools.
no, not at this time.
So this committee would just be the schools,
That's correct.
correct?
Correct.
There'll be the 3 Hanson schools and half of the Whitman Hanson, or Whitman Hanson.
No, Whitman Hanson.
I have done work with Ernie in the past, just on an as-needed basis, but I think it's just going to be for the Hanson schools.
Yes. That's my understanding. It's
And why not with
Indian,
Hanson?
it's Indian Head,
I-
and then
Again, I don't know where it's joint, where it's shared, but, you know, in the past, if Ernie's had questions or needed me to look at something, I would just go down and take a look at it and advise him what to do. And it just didn't, you know, we just picked up some of it on our notes, that's about it.
But back to Mike's question, what is going to be the scope of what the committee is going to be weighing in on, I guess? Is it going to be the school maintenance, those buildings, all buildings that are in Hanson, period?
yes.
Okay. And is that going to be similar to what we did before, where the school committee or the administration comes to us and says, we need to fix these things, and say yes, no? Or-
I would assume it's going to be the same as it was before, yes.
I'm opposed to that.
Mike,
It's another layer, just another layer. We're supposed to, the school committee is supposed to come to the selectmen and say, this is what's wrong, this is what it is. We put an article in, or an emergency basis, might we fix? If a water heater goes, I don't suggest that we ask everybody in town and take 42 votes to figure out if we're gonna fix it. We have to fix it. And then we come to the town with an article for reimbursement.
Understood, but
Too many layers of people.
let me make something clear in terms of my involvement right here. I'm not a member of
I
this
know it's not
committee,
you. No,
yeah.
no, I know it's
So
not you.
I
I'm
just want to make
saying.
sure. that
No, I know
This
that.
is a discussion, but we can't, or this committee cannot have a discussion without a chair at this point. So I know there was a motion and a second.
Yep.
And so I'll recall for the vote. All those in favor?
Well, we can't have a discussion, we gotta, like chairman, we have a discussion, we gotta say what it is, so that's,
Okay,
we don't.
Okay, 5-0. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Mr. Chairman, call for nominations for vice chair and for clerk.
Okay, at this point, I'd like to call for nomination for vice chair of the committee. Anyone want to be nominated?
Okay, I'll nominate Mike
Does
Jones.
it have to be a member? Does it have to be a member?
Vice chair?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Has to be a member of this committee.
Right.
Do we hear any second? Or do we have to, I don't know how this goes.
I'll second it.
Seconded. Want to vote? Vote. 5-0. Choose.
So now at this point, we can have a discussion, right?
Did you nominate a clerk? Sorry.
Well, I can't be chairman and clerk, so do we want to nominate somebody to be a clerk?
Well, do we have a discussion, or do we
We
still
just have the
keep going?
discussion and do the clerk later?
yeah.
If you have a chair and a vice chair, yes.
Okay.
So now we can open up discussion.
Then we can open up discussion.
And Mr. Chairman, you will run the meeting at this point.
Okay, I don't have a copy of the agenda in front of me. Do you have a copy of the agenda, Jim?
No, not,
Sent out?
I thought we would have them. I have it on my tablet, if that's not.
Was it sent out?
Yeah,
Sent out. For some reason, I
Yeah.
can't read it on my phone.
I might
It's a
have it.
big blank.
Do you need the matrix? Is that what you were saying?
No, the actual agenda.
Okay.
If I have it on my phone, Bill, you can read it from that if you need to. Here you go. This is the agenda.
So Bill, before we get into too much further detail,
Yeah.
the committee was set up with one school committee member, which was Bob Hayes.
Bob Hayes, yep.
And I think we now have 3 school committee members now on the board, which is a conflict of interest, and also, how does that work?
Well, he's the representative from the school committee, whereas you and Chris are just citizens, but you happen to be on the school committee. I don't think it's a conflict of interest. I mean,
I can clarify that.
can you clarify that?
Yeah, it was one member of the school committee, one member of the board of selectmen, and then the rest of the people were citizens at large. The
Okay.
definition of a citizen at large are non-public officials, okay? So even though he's a school committee member, he can't put on a citizen hat, he's still a school
I
committee
mean, yeah,
The object of that is to not have too many stakeholders, either from the selectmen side or the school committee side, dominating the makeup of the meeting.
okay.
And that you'd have mostly independent people from the town who didn't have an interest either on the town side or the school side. That was the way it was set up. So the definition basically the definition of a citizen at large is a non-public official, meaning not a appointed member of a committee, commission, or board, or an elected commission. So the selectmen could vote to change that and allow as many school committee members or citizens who also hold an official capacity as they would want. I mean, that's my understanding. So you would have, member of the school committee, member of the board of selectmen, 7 citizens at large. It was originally 9 members of this committee.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, which the selectmen, I brought it up at a meeting, that it was 9 members shortly after this committee was established.
Yes.
I brought it to a selectmen's meeting and had it knocked back down to 7.
Okay.
Otherwise, I knew we had trouble making a quorum.
Okay.
Now, if what Mr. Young says is true for Mike Jones and Chris Howard, I could bring that to a selectmen's meeting and have that possibly changed.
For just not interrupting you, Jim, but for reasons of discussion, Mr. Young, did the selectmen create this committee? I forget.
Let me give you the history behind it.
I don't want a long story.
No, the long and short story is when the demolition of the two buildings failed and the $58 million school failed,
Yeah,
I had the idea of creating this committee just to have a new set of eyes looking at the McQuon and the Indian Head School.
okay,
And the mission statement was basically to look at and prioritize the repairs that needed to be done to the McQuon and the Indian Head School, and get those done, and the committee would continue to be in effect until such time as the long-range plans for the McQuon School were finally resolved, okay? So as you know, the long-range plans for the McQuon School as a school facility have been resolved. After the end of the school year, it's going to be turned back to town, so it's no longer going to be a school building. Therefore, it becomes care and custody back to the town, and the lease for the McQuon School is basically negated, doesn't exist anymore. So all you would have the Indian Head School, and I think the selectmen added the middle school. So you would have those two school buildings as your priority repairs. And that's what you would do. You know? So, but the thing I don't understand with the whole facilities manager is that the facilities manager is usually in charge of town-owned buildings. And those town-owned buildings can include the two school buildings, which are still owned by the town, and is still the priority of the selectmen, according to the lease agreement, to make sure that those buildings are maintained in proper condition, and they can actually go in and tell the school committee or the school department that they wish to take a look at those schools, because there's still, the selectmen still have the responsibility of making sure that those schools are maintained by the school department. So they're still, the town-owned buildings, they're not owned by the schools. One of the schools that's owned by the schools is the regional school system.
Yeah, but according to the school agreement, they're responsible for the maintenance and care
And
of
the town is responsible for funding it, and the selectmen have to oversee the lease and make sure that the school is performing according to the lease. That's the way the lease agrees, or the schools could be held in contempt if they weren't doing that.
It just seems to me to be redundant to have both the town employee looking at it.
Yeah, well, that's what I was
and
thinking too. Jim?
Um, on May 23rd, Bruce is right, but on May 23rd, the Board of Selectmen collected and gathered and voted unanimously to reinstate this board. The notes that I'm reading directly from it state that the mission statement of this was the responsibility of the Indian Head and McQuon School Priority Repair Committee will be to develop and present to the Board of Selectmen a viable and realistic plan to identify the immediate capital and related repairs necessary to keep the Indian Head and McQuon School safe, secure, and comfortable for the students, facility, and visitors, to be responsible for developing accurate descriptions of the prioritized repairs and the estimated project costs, to be used for town meeting and articles, to be recommended for various immediate repair projects necessary. So if important repairs come up immediately that need to be done, we actually experienced that. You guys remember on a Saturday morning we had to meet. Repair projects necessary to be funded to keep these buildings open and function for the immediate future until other long-term solutions are explored. So we asked whether a separate committee could be treated to address the closure of the McQuon School at that time, and that's when we moved into the closure of that. But we had taken a vote to reinstate this committee.
I'm just looking for clarity, it's still the same thing, the mandate though, it's like, that. According to that, it's like to oversee, determine what's bad. I mean, as a practical matter, we have no idea until something's brought to our attention what's wrong with it. You wouldn't know the fire alarm is subpar or par, or I'm sure it's in working order, just to use that as an example, but nonetheless.
Yeah.
That's a good example.
But I mean, you don't really know if it's had issues or not unless, you know, the facilities probably bring it to our attention, so.
The way it was before is Ernie used to let Bruce know.
Which, I mean, it seems like that,
The way
that umbrella's a
the way
little
that I understand Whitman
more
handles the
comprehensive and
situation,
beyond that.
Whitman doesn't have a facilities manager, they pay Bob Curran a stipend to do what you guys are gonna do. I mean, but, so you guys are the answer to what they have.
How does Bob Curran know what's going on at the schools?
He's the building inspector.
No, I know, but who reports to him? I've never seen him at a any form of, like, we have a facilities meeting every other month, if not every month. I've never seen, how does he know?
I don't know, that's.
I was just curious.
That's what I understand, how they handle
Yeah.
their
I
facilities.
mean, there is a meeting every month that goes over everything.
I think, Mike, what.
Is there some huge loopholes of things I didn't know about, even though I'm on that, at every meeting, I've never missed a meeting. I didn't know about this, the track, I didn't know about this
Yeah,
$500,000,
because you have a facilities committee, so I.
I mean, that we could go to also.
You have a facilities subcommittee in the
Yeah, I
schools.
mean, it's every month, so it's not a surprise,
Yeah.
but is someone relaying this information to the selectmen? That I don't know. I mean, clearly there's been a break.
As Mike, I'd like to answer that question. My understanding was that Bob Curran's involved with the town of Whitman on the schools that they deal with, is he gets a stipend for that. I don't know if this is true or not, but this is what I've gotten so far from the second party. But I do know that the town of Hanson doesn't actually have Bob do these things formally for our schools. But, obviously he's gonna have to if we have emergency projects that can be done and what have you, right? I agree with what you're saying about the fact that we need either a better communication or link to it. I did take the opportunity, guys, to call Ernie the other day and get some background information on the additional money that was needed for the playground. On February 5th, we got a full number of about $187,000, right? And then the article that came into place, right, came in for $225,000 for the same playground. So the question is where's the extra money and why? Right? Makes sense. Simple phone call to Ernie, got my information, but that type of stuff should be done.
What was the reasoning to the,
It was ADA. He needed it for ADA compliance and stuff, where he's gonna place it and so forth. And he'll be giving that to us eventually. I actually asked for some more backup on additional details. I'm told that the Indian Head, the facade on the columns needed to be painted. The vendor had agreed to it prior to leaving the contract. We had extra money to get this done, right? And this is on the outside, not the inside Memorial Hall. That's been done. Kudos to Ernie for getting that done. But the outside needed to get done, and it still has to get done. I'm told by Ernie that the vendor basically said no. Okay, so what's the next step? I said, if it's possible, maybe this board can investigate to that vendor. Why? What makes you think that this is okay, that you can,
what do you mean the vendor said no?
That's what I was told.
What vendor?
Whatever the vendor was that he spoke to. He said he's going to give me the details. I've yet to get them.
Yeah, that doesn't,
Aren't they out of business, or is this a different?
no, yeah.
I don't know. I'm waiting to
Probably
get,
the guys that did the
again,
painting, I would assume.
yeah, I'm going off what I've
What
been
guys did the painting?
I think it's the column, remember the column work that needed to be done?
We're kind of getting off topic though,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
No, this is school repair stuff, so it's okay.
Well,
So-
we're still,
Well, you've got an
we're
article
still
there.
discussing
Yeah, so
the,
we did a roof project. We
Right.
tried to rope in with the extra money we had left over from the roof project to do the facade and everything.
That's correct. And I think,
Someone said that it didn't relate directly to the roof project, so we weren't allowed to use that extra money, so we gave that back to
I don't know why the vendor would have said no,
them.
but
The
I'm
vendor
waiting.
didn't say no.
Well, okay, I'm waiting for more information. Once I get
Yeah.
more information, but that's the type of thing I'm
It came
talking
in,
about.
the number came in a little bit high,
High.
but someone said that directly didn't involve the roofs. We could not spend the money on that.
Okay, but the point
That
is,
was the last that I heard of that.
Oh,
I wish it got done then,
yeah.
because we wouldn't have rotted columns at that point.
And you're right about the $500,000 that's going into the HVAC system at the Hanson Middle School, right? So we should have some of those details on these things, right? The playground was a big surprise to us. Look,
The
we'll
town,
call it what it is.
but again, it is the town-owned playground.
Right.
And I agree with you, it would have been nice, and I believe it was a shock to me to say, I mean, I was the one going up there saying, wait, we got some issues here.
Yep.
And they replaced the wooden steps and this, and that. It wasn't on the, I mean, that was on the matrix to replace what was there.
Right.
How in the world, and we're moving McQuon to Indian Head, that no one said, hey, by the way, you're looking at a $203,000 playground, is crazy. But no one ever thought about it, it got missed. I'm not making an excuse,
Right.
but now you're at, I mean, you have to do it, and the question is, where is it gonna go? And they still don't, as of Tuesday's meeting, they still don't know where it's going.
Mike, and you guys would be interested in my point of view, because there's the elephant in the room, right? And I get the uncomfortableness is here. So I've been advocating for this committee, and we know where I am on this, and there might be some of you who are for it and who are not, and whatever the case is, that's fine. I'm okay with whatever solution that we come up with, as long as we can fill the gap, right? Whatever we can do to fill the gap so that we don't get this information last minute, right? Okay? So if that means the decommissioning of this board, but we still fill that gap somehow, then I'm okay. Is that understood, what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Well, okay, that's great, thank you, Jim. Obviously, the second elephant in the room then is me, because I don't want this committee. And I've actually tried to come up with ideas that I could better serve, whether it's the schools or the selectmen and the town. I went to your last facilities meeting, and that was the last one you had, right, Mike?
Yes.
Yeah, and I went to it, and I stayed for the whole thing. And I got more information from that meeting than I could possibly, or for me anyways, thinking what I could get out of here, because I'm right there hearing it from Ernie every month, where I look back at the minutes and what you guys had done before, and then there seemed to be the big gap that Jim had talked about, and we changed the name. I just think there might be a better solution that,
It's simply a matter of just,
If we had a facilities manager to
well,
to
either a
do that for
facility, either
us.
one, a facilities manager, or two, a member of the selectmen's board that attends the facilities committee, as simple as that.
I talked to Bob
You never
Hayes,
I mean, you have to talk to Whitman as well, I mean, they may want one as well.
which would be great for Whitman, but as a selectman of Hanson, I can't worry about what Whitman does.
I understand.
Right, and I can't, as a Hanson selectman, I can't do anything about the high school yet. It would just be our two schools
Yeah.
for right now, unless we could actually work something out. But I spoke to Bob Hayes 6 weeks ago about becoming a member, and we really weren't sure what we could do about me.
You can, it's an open meeting, Jim, so anybody can come. I mean, my opinion, I think each town should probably have representation
Well,
on that to get a better sense, to close this gap that Jim's talking about. Because it's basically something about a communication.
Absolutely.
Add a whole nother committee like we did, at the time served its thing. Bruce and I went to the meetings when we were doing the roof, Tuesday morning construction meetings, construction meetings. We went until the roof was done and saw it through.
Right.
But I mean, that was a big project. As far as what's going on in the schools, the part that I see is it just drags Ernie to another meeting. We have a facilities committee, we have it going on, it's another night out. Send somebody from the Board of Selectmen or their representative to that committee meeting, see exactly what's going on, go back to the selectmen, because we're gonna be sending in, like, I think we put an article in to fix the front of Indian Head this year.
We did.
So I mean, we've got that back on the board. Ernie did the whole interior piece of it. That's all painted and all clean, Memorial Hall. That's all painted and cleaned up. Now we wanna put some new, what are they, stone boards, Mike, you were saying?
I'm going back and forth.
Yeah,
Fascia
new
boards.
clapboards and put fascia up at the top and do something with
Just
the beams.
paint at this point for the,
We talked about possibly a couple companies looking at it. If you close them in and make them square,
Yeah.
you get away from the round look,
If,
but that's the problem.
Bob, that's a great point, and that's terrific. I'm glad that article went in there to fix it. But I think maybe what we need to do is look at some additional digging, right, guys? Because if we already had money going to that from left over from the roof, where did that happen to
just
go?
goes back to the revolving fund.
Did it go
Oh,
back?
yeah.
Let's make sure of
I
that,
went,
right?
I did.
That's what
Okay.
That's what went to, because it can't get.
What a
No, no.
shame, what a shame that we didn't do it.
I know, I agree.
Yeah.
It wasn't that much money either, it was like, what was it, $1,500, $2,000 or something to paint that facade?
That's
I think so.
We'll be on that now.
It's always cheap when you have a bunch of this already.
How much?
It was more to rent the lift than it was.
Yeah, well, it is to come back after.
We're at
that.
50,000 now.
Jack, I think you and I had that discussion about the lift and how much it was gonna be a
But
per guy.
back to the initial point is, it's great to say the committee's gonna have this purview to plan and inspect and other, but at the end of the day, as a practical matter, we're still dependent upon the facilities director for the school department, and, you know, and the school committee at large to provide us the information. So,
And then we have to
and then you're gonna present it to us, and we're just gonna turn around and present, you know, maybe weigh in or give an opinion on it, but at the end of the day, it'll just be an opinion, and it moves back on again. It just seems like another layer that.
Someone
not necessarily
That's
should
what
be.
the frustration part, I think, is with a lot of people, is it's another layer doing the same work.
Granted, but I mean,
Mr. Chairman, through you, I might suggest, the way that this conversation is going, that this board entertain making a motion to make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen to appoint a member of that board to be an ad hoc member or some sort of a liaison with the school repair subcommittee.
Well, I know there was a report that was just put out on Hanson Middle School about all the repairs that need to come up. I mean, again, we're gonna have to prioritize that list. There's a laundry bid.
We who though?
Because that's how we did McQuon, based
Why do
on
we
all
have
of that.
capital improvements? We've had
Well, I was gonna
capital
say that
improvements for
doesn't
years.
fall under
We've got
capital
too many
improvements.
committees.
But it just never got done, nothing ever got done.
Because
Until
it
we
never
came
gets,
along.
because it never gets funded.
What list are you talking about? What we're
There was a
voting on?
report put out by Garcia and Galuska again, and they
The
went through the
HVAC.
school, and there was a laundry list of, this is at its life expectancy.
It's ratified.
I had it, I just don't know where it is
So we're
now.
voting on that at this town meeting. It's $500,000.
No, it was a lot more than that, it was about pumps and exhaust fans.
It's all in.
500,000 is the first
$500,000.
piece.
All right, yeah,
So that's on this, coming up.
that article.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't have that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to,
Was that from the middle
well, you did. Bob, I understand what we're saying here, okay, I'm the capital improvement matrix folks, but,
Are they still in, sorry, are they
yeah,
still
they're
around?
still, yeah, they're still.
I went to a
around.
meeting with them a month ago.
Yes, they are, but the problem with that, guys, is historically, right, we had a list of McQuon school items out there, right?
And they always said no.
Okay, so, and how long were they out there? Were they prioritized, were they not? As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, they were all in the same year. And they should have been broken out according to things. So, with all due respect, and I believe they're addressing it. I think that they're addressing it. First of all, I would think that they're gonna remove all the McQuon school stuff, right? It would make sense. But I do think that they need to move things out throughout the year. Now, I have asked for that, and I do believe it's happening. I've yet to see the matrix, but that's how it should be going. What I was hoping more for was, when they say asbestos removal, or upgrade front entrance, or do some of these other things, I'm looking for what, they're all good people, I get it, but you guys were, the people who were supposed to be on this board are supposed to be SMEs, subject matter experts in your fields, right? Bob, you got good school committee experience, right? Jim, you're a selectman. Mike, school committee, Jack, is it roofing, Jack? Isn't it roofing? I'm pretty sure, yeah, whatever, your construction experience. Bill, same for you too, your construction experience, right? So that's fine, as long as we can address again and fill the gap. So if whatever we do here, if we come up, I would really like to see, I think in line with what Mike is asking for, if we came up with, this group comes up with a plan to make sure that gap gets filled. Because, Bob, if I'm not mistaken, the facilities committee has been postponed a couple of times because of the storms, right? They were postponed several times, right? So, and it's understandable why, right? But of course, when we've got a difference of like $35,000 on the playground, we should know kind of right away when we're putting it into the article and going on.
Did you get a good enough explanation on that $35,000?
I was told that it was ADA stuff. I
So-
could only talk to him for
The
15 minutes.
the original price was to put the playground out front.
No, to be honest with you, I
Just
didn't
to
talk
tell you.
about location
Yeah.
attorney, no.
So just was to go out front. I'm strongly against it.
In front of the Indian Head area, that play, yeah, I got you.
So it's flat surface.
Yeah, I get you.
So
Yeah,
the
street-
additional price is now you're either A, expanding
Yeah,
the playground that it is now,
right,
this playground surface, which is obviously involves a retaining wall because it's on a hill, or B, going down to one of the fields, which obviously would involve a some form of a path, a handicap accessible path,
Okay.
which obviously invites site work. Just, I don't know if that was related to you.
No, this
But
goes,
that's,
thank you, Mike, it goes
that-
to
that
my
is the
point. It
difference.
goes to my point of the fact that you know this information,
Yeah.
right?
but how you don't, and I agree, that's
And I
where we
was not
have,
able to go to the facilities repair committee.
that
meeting
never
in
came up,
February.
believe me, I mean, you sat there, you know,
Mhm.
but we've been since December asking for this. As a school committee, asking the schools to finalize this since December. They said we'd have it in December, and we're here now, and they still do not know, have a clue where that playground's going. So just a little background.
But that did come out at that meeting that I was at.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, please do. I don't know why the town just can't have, when the facilities director for the town finally comes on board, he's part-time, sure, but he can work with Ernie and help identify those priority
Exactly.
repairs that rise to the level of capital expenditures.
Feel the same way, if we had somebody to fill that gap,
guy's
then
gonna
we
be a
would have
jack
this
of,
committee.
that guy's gonna be a jack of all trades. He's gonna know about the building trades and all the different, all the different subject matter that you guys are experts in. And he's gonna be here most of the time during the day, albeit part-time.
My only point again is that gentleman is gonna be totally dependent upon getting that information from the director of facilities,
Right.
which is fine. And he's basic, and there's no reason to have more than one guy to take that information on the back and
But
have.
like I said,
basically what he
in
wants to say.
the pinch, he does have the authority, the selectmen can authorize him to enter school buildings, you know, because it's in the lease agreement.
Yeah. I mean,
And
gentlemen can do that.
take a biannual tour of the school buildings.
Right.
He's basically allowed to do that.
I'm sorry.
Because they're town-owned buildings.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And that's why I would be willing to fill the gap until, you know, that possibility, the facilities manager comes on board. But more importantly for me, being the selectman, that when the chairman of the selectmen asks me, when we get to the committee reports, that I would have the information that I would need from going to the meetings with Mike and Bob. And, you know, Jack, I agree with you that this just seems, and Bob, you had said it too, that it's just another step.
Yeah.
But if I'm at the facilities meeting and then.
Cuts it out.
Yeah, and then the chairman of the selectmen, and it's every month. I noticed that you guys met when this was first created, you met a lot, and then the meetings started to separate. If I'm there every month when there's a facilities meeting, I can give the report, you know, to the selectmen and to, you know, who's ever listening.
It was just that in the past, all of the repairs that needed to be done for the school weren't being done.
Right.
I mean, who's to say if you throw that at the town meeting, if it gets rejected and somebody says, well, you know, we don't want to do all of it.
Yeah, but that's still gonna be a problem, the board can't do anything about that
We
one way or the
couldn't
other.
do
It's their money,
anything.
it's the town's money.
It's the town's money, but, you know, we could go in and we could look at it and say, what is the immediate repair? What needs to happen right now?
They're gonna,
at this
the only
point?
way they're gonna get that done is gonna be on an emergency basis anyways. It's really got a problem.
Well, you can't replace a rooftop tomorrow. If a rooftop fails,
Mr. Chairman,
it's just. a-
quick question, quick point. Mike has stated before that the facilities manager that the town intends to hire, okay, is not going to do the school buildings at first.
At
The
first.
focus of that person, that position, is going to be up at Camp Kawani and taking on that list of projects. It's huge, right? And then they were going to move on to town-owned buildings. This one, police, so forth, so on, fire, senior center, all that, right? And then, if they have the time, we talked about this at our meeting, Jim, that they might take over the schools, we'll see. So my point is that it wouldn't be right away. It might not be until several months later, and I don't know, it could be up to 6 to 8 months later. Okay, again, that's fine if he does that, and that will fill the gap, right? But in the meantime, we still have that period where it isn't, where we don't have that position filled yet, until possibly the next meeting as
I think the suggestion, and want to volunteer, is hard.
Right.
It's a practical matter, because again, if the school committee comes with, all right, here's a list of things we need done. That information has to get relayed to the capital improvement committee and the finance committee as well. And since both of those boards basically report to you as well, as a practical matter, it seems like that's where the information should be at.
For instance, Jack, you brought up a roof, it's a great idea. The slates falling off Indian Head didn't happen overnight, it happened over years. That was brought to the town way before this current board was sitting on that board. And they said, no, we don't want to spend the money to fix the roof. Hence, the fence went up, so nobody got hurt.
As a practical matter, there's only so much, that the board can make a recommendation, but
Right.
if the town decides it's not going.
Right or wrong, Bruce, it got voted down a couple of times.
It got voted down at the town meeting, at a.
They said, no, we don't want to fix the roof. So, I mean, you can come and say, hey, this is gonna happen if the town says, we're not paying this year because we don't have the money. Then it doesn't get fixed. So we can recommend anything we want, it's been recommended.
That was kind of.
That's what I've always complained about, because I've said,
Because 95% of the time, whenever you bring a repair to the town meeting that needs to be.
It gets done.
It gets done, yeah.
yes, it
It's
does.
just an oddball.
That was an oddball one. But I mean, I feel the pain of going to the capital improvement committee, because when you go to them, they have no money. They rely on town meeting. So we bring them all these things, and it gets put off and put on a matrix. And like Jim said, then all of a sudden, there was 15 things, and I said, those have been on a matrix for 10 or 12 years. And now they're all on 1 year. How did that happen?
Yeah, because according to the bylaw, you can't put them all in 1 year. The only things you can put in the first year of is what you are allocating from free cash to do.
To do it, exactly. So it's kind of a tough thing for all the committees. Nobody's criticizing anybody, believe me, I'm not. All these volunteers are fabulous. I think it's great. But sometimes I think we trip over each other with too many layers. That's all I'm saying.
I do have to say though, the information needs to come in a more timely fashion though, because a lot of times you're scrambling to figure it out. Now, I understand information comes in late, I understand if something breaks, but that could definitely be improved upon, just to be, you know,
Very true.
more upfront about getting the information, you know, like then the day before a meeting or something like that, so. But, you know, again, the facilities, if he's only part-time, and you're gonna give him every town-owned building in Hanson, and then the schools.
He's got to act, he's got to act according, he's got to
That's
act.
fine.
Yeah, exactly, I'm not
He's
gonna
basically
put
has
my
to
day
act
job for that,
according to
so.
where the priorities are. Where are the priorities, you know? We have some buildings that are in excellent shape, we have other buildings that aren't in that good shape.
Sure, I'm sure.
And you have emergencies that arise, he's got to go to where the priorities are. He's not gonna necessarily go here and here and here.
Granted, my only point being is that, you know, most of the things that are quote-unquote emergency, he's probably not gonna be able to fix himself anyways.
Right.
So, he's gonna have to call somebody, and then, you know, he's gonna be, I don't know how that position's gonna work, but as soon as he's gonna come to you, says,
Some of those are
I need
good.
money to go
Mike,
fix
is this-
something, and then the wheels start rolling.
Is this facilities manager going to do some of the work?
Not to get too far ahead of what I plan on talking about at the next selectmen's meeting, the next full board meeting, but my suggestion to the board is to bring on a vendor who will have a point person who will act as a facilities manager, but will have the ability to mobilize people to do things.
But he's not gonna do the work.
No.
That's, okay.
Has it been funded? When was it funded?
Yeah, it was funded at the special.
You're basically
I think it was
talking almost
35,000.
Probably.
Okay, so it's funded.
So then,
Like a
yeah,
PM.
then to your point, where you're saying we're not getting the information quick enough, if this committee's not getting it, that means the facilities.
Well, facilities really is generating it in actuality.
Right, so if you come to the facilities meetings, Jim,
Mhm.
and you report, make your report to the selectmen,
And then I have it.
it can't be any faster than that.
Right, and then, and yeah, we don't have to wait for a day before the meeting because I've already got it.
Well, the day of your meeting, if it's an off month, you could call one of me, one of the attorneys,
Yeah.
for a heads up. Hey, this is what's going on.
Yeah, but even still, I could be there for the.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I
every
could
other
be there.
month, but yeah.
And then, you know, boogie down here, get to the selectmen's meeting, and I have the information right there,
Perfect.
right after your meeting, or I should say, hopefully our meeting,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and have it that night. So there is no communication gap or a delay in the communication.
that'll help.
I mean, it's just, you know, an
I
idea.
think we should notify Whitman too and see if they wanna send somebody. I think that's a fabulous idea.
I don't think the information can get there any quicker.
So one more thing I just wanted to ask, please, Mr. Chairman, is getting back to the point where you guys are SMEs in your roles, right? Part of the deal, or that we did in the past, if I'm not mistaken, was we were able to look at some of the costs and some of the work that was actually going to be done, right? And compared to some of the industry standards, the current code, all that type of thing, right? That, I assume, is actually being done with Ernie. I know he is the facilities manager, I get it, right? But the idea too, at this time, was that each individual had a particular expertise that could challenge something, right?
I don't know if I really want.
We
Right,
didn't
that's
challenge
such,
it.
because-
We had a list, they had a list of things that weren't getting paid. Every time they went up to the finance committee, they didn't have the money to fund it. And then us as a group determined what needed to be done right away. And it was
Yeah.
But Bill,
Under
You didn't
our
really determine
expertise.
scope, if you would.
but
Yes,
Bill,
scope
but
and
there was but the prior minutes from the September, right? You had a list of items that needed to be followed up on.
Yes, there were some code violations. The water heaters weren't installed properly at the Indian Head School.
Okay, and if that's gonna be filled, because we're gonna either, maybe what we could try to look at is getting our building inspector to get involved in that, if that's what's lacking,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
My point here, folks, is that as long as we fill that gap, that's what I'm really interested in. I think we all, as citizens of Hanson, deserve that, okay?
Yes. I mean, that's what our group was here to do, to determine of that giant list, what we could actually do, and then it was our recommendation to do certain things. I mean, because you couldn't do everything at once.
Right.
So that's what we were here for. So if they pass this $500,000, then that's fine, but if they come back, the town comes back and says, we don't want to pay for the entire thing, then we want to get some of it done. We don't want it just to slip for the next 3,
Yeah, but
4
if
years.
they don't allocate the money, there's nothing you can do.
Well, they might not want to allocate $500,000, but if we need to, replace exhaust fans or things like that, some of the smaller items, we start chipping away at this every year. That's why we were here. But again, I mean, I don't have the new capital matrix, so I don't know what's on it. So I can't tell. I can't tell you, what it is. I did give you guys a list.
Which
that I just-
capital matrix, though?
The new one that showed the repairs that needed to happen for Hanson Middle.
For the school?
I don't have it. The thing I had was a list to close McQuon, that's all I had. Yeah, all right. I'll have to look at this. But, based on that report that I had read, I don't know where, I can't find it in my emails, but it said certain things were coming upon at the end of their life expectancy. Well, the American Society of Heating, Refrigeration, and Air Conditioning Engineers has a list it's industry standard as to at what point you determine things need to be replaced at the end of their life cycle. They might be at the end of their life cycle, they might still be able to be used. I mean, the school doesn't run, year-round. The boilers aren't run year-round to produce hot water. When the school shuts down, we have a couple of months where the building's down, so it's not run like...
Which boiler shuts down?
Well, if they provide hot water, I mean, I got water heaters there for now, but I'm saying there's no heat in the winter time. I mean, the summertime, summertime.
Might be all
boilers.
the same, it's my copy of the matrix.
But I know there's pumps that need to be replaced. They had an issue with the pumps. There was a strainer that fell apart, and it got lodged in the impeller on the pump last winter, or the winter before, and it jammed up one of the pumps. And at the time, we wanted to put some money through to get it replaced, but they ended up rebuilding it. But I guess it had already been rebuilt twice. I mean, at that point, it should have just been replaced. But now I'm sure, that building went into operation in 1998, so most of the stuff is at 20 years. But,
I don't understand, what boiler does it run year-round? Am I missing
well, if it's heating only, it's not, it's not gonna be firing up.
What boiler is heating?
Well, the heat that provides to the school, the hot water for the school. To feed the unit heaters, unit vents, rooftop units, whatever. I'm sure you're not running them in June. I'm sure they're offline. The only thing that's running is domestic hot water, and all of our schools now should be on,
They're all separate.
they're all those Renai water heaters now at Indian Head, and I
That's what
don't
you
know
said,
what's
those run
middle
year-round,
school.
sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
the
like-
schools are occupied year-round.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to your point, Tony, I mean, what you're talking about is preventative maintenance,
Yeah.
per se. And
That's not this committee.
that's, again, not,
Yeah, but, the only thing this committee is here for is if they turn down at town meeting. If that gets turned down and someone says we don't want to fund all of it, or there's no way we can fund all of it, then the committee is put together to prioritize repairs then. We'll break that list down and chip away at it little by little. What can you afford? You know?
But it can't be done like that. The only 2 times in the year you can vote on what can you afford. Fall special, a May annual, right? So I mean, we can determine at any time what you want to do, unless it's an emergency repair.
Yeah.
This committee has no authority to spend 13 cents. You have to bring it to town meeting, unless it's something that stops the building from working, and then we determine.
And then we pay it and we reimburse
Yeah,
you.
Yeah, I know we do that. But if they turn around and tell you that they don't want to pay this big lump sum of anything, then at the next town meeting, we have to break it out. We'd have to review this. We need time to go through all of their repairs that they want to do. There's a lot of stuff that says fiscal year 18 here. But there's high school stuff on here too, so.
Oh, it's definitely high
There's
school.
Whitman schools in
That's
there.
all.
They'd all to be
Yeah,
pulled
it's
up.
the whole thing, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah,
See,
it's
because
everybody.
That's where the capital improvement committee come in. They'll take that, and they're
Yeah.
supposed to break part of that down and prioritize it into 2018. And then that's what you vote on.
Yeah.
Well then, should we hold off on doing anything then until after the May town meeting?
I would. Yeah, we should, but we won't have to meet until after that, until they determine what they want to pay for. What the town can afford to pay for.
But
How you
again,
decide how much
I
you're
don't
going to take
understand,
from free
they don't
cash to
vote for
put
it.
into capital improvement funds?
Nothing.
That's the first thing that has to happen.
Put a list together
Yeah.
on stuff we don't know
That's
about.
what we can answer.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, as a practical matter, we only, when we see the list, all it is a written description, we have no idea really eyes on it to see what it is.
Bill, if this does decide to become a committee, or is a committee, or, I noticed you said we changed to 7 positions.
Yep.
I assume Chris Howard is still on.
I'm assuming he is. I don't know about Gary Vanek. I know Mariah's not.
Gary resigned as soon as I put the
You have
first.
an
email.
open position, who appoints that person? The selectmen,
It would be
obviously?
the selectmen.
I think it's a
Yeah, the
select.
selectmen usually appoint. You know, it's,
But we've had it on the announcements now for at least a month.
Just like all the other ones.
Yep.
well, now that we know they're not coming, we could ask if anybody wants to volunteer. I mean, I know there's a lot of people want to volunteer up there, so from what I hear.
On what committee? It says it.
Well, there's certain committees they don't want to be on, but, you know.
It just seems to me that before we had a pretty defined, you know, area where we were going, we're looking to get this school back up to speed so that it was
Well, yeah.
usable and it was
And the items are
up to
pretty
speed and safe and all that, but now it's just kind of like more of, we're like voting on preventative maintenance.
Yeah, the items
and-
in the beginning were
and
very, very
facility
obvious,
stuff.
what you had to
Right.
do. You had to do the lintels, you had to do the roof, you had to do the part of the roof over the McQuon, there were things that were obvious to do. You know, now you're basically waiting for the school department to prioritize what really has to be done. And now that you've got the McQuon gone, that eliminates a lot of the stuff that needed to be done over there, about $4 or $5 million worth, so.
Yeah, there's still a lot here though for Indian Head too.
Well, I think,
I'm sure it's full of buildings, still plenty there, but again, you know.
There's another roof to do at Indian Head over the old library, for those of you that remember when Mike, you probably remember.
That's a shingle roof, isn't it?
That's
Yeah,
on,
it's an
that's a
asphalt,
shingle,
it's an
yeah.
asphalt shingle roof, so.
that's on that matrix for $65,000 in 2019.
And we also have the rubber roofs, I think 1991, I could be wrong, but the next section of rubber roof is leaking pretty bad right now at Indian.
I don't think there's an active.
Yeah, this one just says replace.
There's no
school.
But they're up, I mean, they're leaking, they need to be
Well, that's
replaced.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Hanson Middle needs a new roof too, for 65. Then the roof repair on the
That
old
shouldn't be,
library.
that shouldn't be
65.
Hanson Middle School.
Well, there's 2 lines, because it says Indian Head, and it does say replacement, where am I reading it? It's 65,000. It says roof repairs, old library pitch roof needs replacement.
That's Indian Head.
Yeah, but it's down here too, Hanson Middle, replacement roof, gym and school, 65,000.
Mhm.
Roof shingles on gym, entry vestibule in school, fully EPDM roof are over 20 years, expected lifespan. Starting to see failures on the roof, water infiltration and leakage. well, that should be a priority.
Oh, yeah.
We can't have water coming into the schools. It can't be like the gym at McQuon. It needs, that's a priority that needs to happen. Same thing with the roof on the library, because isn't that library section, that's all special needs?
The old library.
Yeah, but now when you're, with the move overs, that's getting all redesigned, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's still gonna be, you can't have water leaking.
You can't have water leaking in it anyway, yeah. That needs to be
You can't have
done.
water in the building, period.
No, you can't have water in the building, period. It
Water
leads to
rules.
all sorts of problems.
No matter where it's coming in.
Yep.
Period, right?
Yeah, and we can't be chasing cracks like we did that gym for years. $4,000 every time they went up there, and then something else would crack and it would find its way back into
Again,
the
though,
building.
like if you're gonna do the rubber roofs, then you break it up into areas and you put it over a 5-year span, and this is what we're gonna spend on it, but again, it's gotta be presented in a manner that people can, so that people can weigh in on it and say, well, I'm really not sure, because I really not.
Did
I'm
you
not
guys
really up
put
to
in
speed
for
on it.
roofs for the town meeting?
No,
We asked them to put in for the $65,000, I asked them to put in $65,000 for Indian Head Library. They said,
Well, you know what's gonna happen, first time it leaks, it's gonna be an emergency situation, they're
leaking.
gonna want it. It's still leaking, yeah, it's leaking now?
And they'll bring it to the Board of Selectmen, we'll pay for it and get reimbursed.
Well, they bring it to me, and I'll authorize it, and I'll bring it to you guys, let you know what happened. Like, you know, Bob's saying, an emergency situation,
Yeah.
we have a procedure by which we take care of it, and then we
Yeah,
reimburse it.
yeah,
Either we've got the money in a fund, or we reimburse it at the next
that's why
town
we
meeting.
have E&D.
E&D,
Yeah.
yeah, they usually pay for it and then they submit to us.
Yeah.
Right.
But we don't wanna repair it, I mean, we wanna replace it.
Well, we're not gonna repair
Yeah,
it,
that-
we'll replace it.
Yeah,
Well,
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman,
yeah.
I'm thinking possibly that, maybe, I'm assuming that he has it temporarily fixed, or is it still leaking? Because I'll be honest with you, I would have an issue with this if, you know, we've got an article out there to paint the front of, you know, to paint up there, but not fix the roof that's leaking. That to me is a prime example of setting the right priorities. If you disagree.
I agree, this committee, and I'm on the school committee, and I can yell as loud as I want, I got no say. I don't put something on, it's not my gig.
yeah, but if you report it back to here, we could.
You have no say.
We don't have no say, but it would be our recommendation that you fix this roof before there's any further damage, and then
Well, I think
We leave
it
it up
would
to the
be
selectmen to-
easier to sell, not sell, but to
Yeah.
present at a town meeting if, you know, where does the school committee sit on it? Are they with this?
it's not gonna be,
against
there's no article for it for this
You
year.
don't- Well, I
This
understand this
year.
about it, but I think
Because
that
if it
would
was
be-
brought forward, if that roof could have been done.
There's too much to do this summer with
Yeah.
that also, that was the response.
Yeah, but what is the plan for that area? Are they leaving it as is, or are they redesigning it for the new classrooms? Because if they're redesigning it and they're leaving a leaking roof up on top of it, kind of defeats the purpose of redoing the area and then.
They're not redoing it.
The rooms are staying the same?
No, those are now becoming the kindergarten classroom.
We water leaking in
Well, they're currently leaking, but only when it rains.
because we had that window at that wall that was leaking at the kindergarten at McQuon. We had to keep, the teacher kept having to move her classroom. So. I mean,
So they were back to.
I think there is a need for I think there is a need for this committee right now until we have some type of facilities manager that can handle that, and then we don't need to be here.
I just don't see what we're weighing in on, but.
Well, if there's an issue with stuff that's not getting done, you know, Mr. Hickey can talk to these blue in the face, and if they're not gonna do anything,
Again, there'll be 7 people doing the same thing, is my point. At least he has some authority,
yeah.
you know,
But
being on the school.
did they tell us no when we put stuff forward to them?
But
I
Jack,
have
Mike
no
just,
authority.
Mike just said, and I understand individually, there's strength in numbers, gentlemen, right?
Yeah.
You get yourselves in a consensus that say, hey, we think this should have been done first, and you go that way, then now you've got some support, Mike. Now you've got some support, Jim, right? But if you go up against it yourself, it's gonna be much harder to get done. But I understand, it's up to you. There's strength in numbers, guys, right? You have more more chance of getting what needs to get done by saying, hey, look, we met as a committee and said, this is the way we want to go. And yeah, they can still choose to ignore it, but it's going to be a lot harder.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna bring a facilities person on, I would think, Lincoln Roof is something that's gonna get reported back to them, but again,
Should be
they're
a
not gonna be
slam
taking that on.
It
right away.
should be done. I mean, if there's too much stuff going on at Indian Head this summer, I mean, well, there's still a roof at Hanson Middle. There's no construction going on over there this summer. I don't know why they couldn't do a roof over there.
Well, it depends, is it Lincoln?
Yeah. That's what it says in here.
That's in the matrix.
So, moving forward would be,
It says we are starting to see
keep
failure on the
this
roof, water.
committee going for now.
I think we need to keep
Schedule.
going, wait till see what they say at town meeting says about update, because from what this is, it's an upgrade to the air handling, they're not replacing the air handling units.
What do you have?
The $500,000 for the HVAC, it just says that they're adding variable speed drives to the rooftop units, extending controls of various systems, and they're gonna add CO2 reset for energy savings.
Doing outside air dampers, is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
So it's a rebuild,
Is
they're
it
not taking it off the roof, they're basically going through and rebuilding it.
more than that.
Yeah.
Well, it's $100,000. A
Yeah,
lot of air balancing, a lot of makeup air to some offices and stuff like that, so a decent amount of work.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure, there's a full report that. if we-
well, yeah, there is the report, I had it, I just don't know where it
But
went.
that's- everything in the report falls under that $500,000.
Okay.
So it's not, they did some of the piecemeal, it's the whole
Yeah.
thing.
But again, if town meeting doesn't pass it, then they might throw it back at us to say, yeah, it's needed, it needs to happen. And it's up to the town to send it back to the selectmen, and
My gut tells me, in terms of what Mr. Young said,
I think
the
it's
school, most school things pass, right?
pass, exactly.
They do.
But, but when they find out about leaky roofs again, that was a big to-do, about people with the leaky roofs, and then they had us doing the air quality tests in the school, because then they were saying, oh, it's leaking, it's moldy, my kids can't breathe, and that's another can of worms too that we don't want to see.
Well, we could set up a meeting after the town meeting,
Town meeting,
to see what happens there.
yeah.
But Mr. Young brought it up at the beginning, that there's a real possibility that Mike and Chris,
Yeah, can we,
Have conflict
can we
of interest.
restructure our committee?
Well, the selectmen can vote to allow.
I can bring it to the Board of Selectmen
I can
and
come to the next select.
have
meeting.
that change.
Well, I think that
Or ask.
the solution is that, the gentleman in question could be seen as at-large as opposed to the school committee appointees. I mean, there's different ways to go about it, and we certainly can explore that, so that the committee as it's currently constituted remains.
Okay.
But you can change that constitution.
Yeah, since it is a creation of the Board of Selectmen, not town meeting, it can be modified at any time.
You could just change it to 7 members, including citizens at large and town officials, and just leave it at that.
And I'm
And you
sure
wouldn't
that's
have
going
to
to
define.
pass.
Just until we get a
who goes
facility
to
repair
what.
person.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
a good idea.
And should we look to fill the other vacant seats? I mean, because we used to have Brian Campbell too, and Brian left, we had to fill his seat, and now it's Mariah and
Well,
Gary gone.
At one of the selectmen's meetings, that's why I brought it from the 9 to the 7, because I thought we were going to have trouble with 7. And then I sent out the first email, which I think I copied
Yeah.
Mike on. And Gary Bannock, if I'm saying his last name right,
Yeah.
resigned right away.
Okay. So that'll just leave us with 6 if it's Chris is here, so we would need one more.
Yeah, if we get that one more, that'd be great.
But you could still obviously function
With
with
6.
6, because you meet your quorum.
We need one, okay,
You can function with 5.
yeah.
And Jim, we can make an announcement at the selectmen's meeting that if you folks agree, because you're on this board, that until we get a facilities repair committee, a facilities repair person in, that it would only be up and, you know what I'm saying, you would only serve up until that time.
Right.
So maybe my point is that maybe you might get somebody knowing that it's not going to be a full year or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Well, let me make it clear too, that my statements regarding the facilities manager and the preclusion of school buildings is driven by my interpretation of the job description. Now, job descriptions can be changed,
Yeah.
but
Well, it
my
was-
recollection of when this job description was created, hence my statements,
Mhm.
is that it was limited to municipal facilities, not educational facilities.
Okay.
that can be changed.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we could give him time to get up to speed with the other buildings, get caught up with them first, and then when he's done caught up with them, if he wants to take on, at that time, when he takes on the school buildings, then we step aside.
The only thing you
That's the only reason we're here.
change the job description is the meeting of the Wage and Personnel Board,
Yeah,
Yeah,
because it's a non-union position.
yeah.
I mean, we could give them time to get,
To public buildings owned by the town of Hanson rather than municipal.
And I don't necessarily think it's going to be an issue with the individual with whom I've been speaking, but it obviously is something I need to bring up.
okay.
Because that, again, was not part of the job description, not part of the conversation. I don't necessarily think that that's going to be a game changer, though.
I'll make the motion,
To adjourn?
yeah,
Second,
What else was up, what else was on?
we covered it all.
You got everything?
We did our next
We
meeting
got our next
date.
meeting date, which will,
The May
what day works better for everybody? Because I know you guys have meetings.
Not Wednesday night.
Not Wednesday nights, well, it can't be Wednesdays for me, I have water.
Monday night, it's gonna be tough.
Do you want to set, well, should be determined?
Yeah,
Next meeting?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
must
let's
have
keep
that
it.
first.
DVD.
Next meeting, to be determined after town meeting.
Yeah.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, motion to adjourn was, Bob?
It's nice to meet you.
Here, I seconded it.
Yeah,
Who put it up?
I did.
Okay,
Jim Hickey.
Jim Hickey,
The,
Bob Hayes, vote?
This is.
Yes.
Yes.
I think it's 5.
It's unanimous.